Welcome to another edition of Talking Models. Today I'm excited to start a new series on this channel. We're going to look at some of the kids from Gillman Productions, and in particular their series of Stephen King tributes. Today is the first up in that series, and we're going to look at Jack. And if you can remember him, he was pretty creepy in the movie The Shining. This kit is so beautifully sculpted by Mark Van Tine. Mark has become one of the big names in the hobby. And to me, he just keeps raising the bar on his sculpts. This is one in particular, I think he absolutely nailed him. Let's take a quick look at it. I'm going to kind of spin it around. What you get with this kid, obviously you get Jack holding that famous axe. And he's on a base that is simple base, but yet a lot is in there. You've got the name, The Shining. You've got the snow that surrounds it with footprints. If you remember when he tracked his family in the maze full of snow near the end of the movie. You have the brick wall that goes all the way around. He even has the face of The Shining sculpted in the T, which is really creepy. So you kind of go around, take a look at them. It's a pretty good sized kit. And again, for me, it's one of those that doesn't take up a lot of shelf space. And it now sits in my man cave in the wing of bus from Gillman Productions of the kits from Stephen King. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what I did with this one today. But first, if you haven't seen this movie, give it a shout. You know, if you're watching this and you haven't seen the movie, I'd be surprised. Where you been? This is just such a great movie. It takes some liberties from the book. The book is totally different. I've read the book by Stephen King. And this one takes it a little out of the realm of the book and explores some other territories. But so many memorable moments in there. You know, when he breaks through the bathroom door and we hear, "Here's Johnny." And then you think of the two girls, the twins. Red rum. Only to find out in the mirror that red rum backwards is murder. So many scenes that just stick in your head. And I'm filming this in the month of October. Halloween's just around the corner, a few weeks away. Why not give this movie a chance and watch it and prepare yourself for the spookiness of the season? So what we did here then with Jack is everything on here, again, my style was base coated in black. Now I do use a automotive gray primer on everything before I start. Of course, with resin kits, you always want to give it a bath in some dish soap water. Use a toothbrush or something and try to get all that mold release out of it. I will say when you get one of these kits from Gillman Productions, they are beautiful. Paul is, I believe, a master at casting these. Way to go, Paul. And you get a nice, clean piece when you get one of their kits. If you haven't bought a kit from Gillman Productions, what are you doing? Hit Paul or Mark up and get your order in. So once everything was primered with the gray primer, I left the hands and the head with the gray primer. Everything else was painted black. And again, if you haven't seen any of the other earlier videos I've done, you haven't seen them, well, get going, check them out, then come back and it'll make sense. So I use like a Delta cream coat black hand brush, all the black on the entire piece minus the hands and head. And then the fun begins. Then you get out your airbrush. Now for the base, for the snow, I want it white, but I want it to have some cold in it, if that makes sense to you, because after all, if you've seen the movie, they're out in the bitter cold. And with bitter cold, you get ice, you get blues, you get whites, you get all this stuff that goes along with it. So my goal was try to recreate that in this snow. So basically over the black, I came in with some white, and I just started airbrushing some white in all around it. Then I came in with some transparent Payne's Gray. Then you start hitting all the folds. Payne's Gray is beautiful for shading white. It works. Try it. So I came in, you know, and you hit all the little folds in here in the snow. And I just kept working that back and forth from the white to the trans gray. And just back and forth. Then what I did is I came in with some pale blue. And I kind of thinned that down and just kind of hit certain areas here to give it that blue hue to it, if you will. And that added the different blues, just a light hint. I didn't want it to get all spacey and out of whack. So I kept it minimal. And then again, it's just basically coming back and forth with your whites, your transparent gray, and maybe even the blue if you want more blue. For the footprints that go all the way around the base, I just came in with my Patriot 105 airbrush, and I just kind of hit inside of all the footprints with a transparent gray, just to give it some depth. And basically that's all I did with that. Now over the wall itself, again over the black, it was just simply taking some gray. I believe I used Dove gray from Delta Cream Coat, and just started dry brushing. You know, because there's a lot of texture. Mark has sculpted a lot of texture in here, so dry brusher's dream. Boom, right here. Just started dry brushing and working the colors back and getting them a little heavier in some areas, like around the front. And then one of my tricks that I use is I always bring out the transparent black, and I kind of just mist over the gray, which kind of brings it down and gives you the look that you see here. Now the front of the base, I wanted to try something different, so I got out some pale blue because I wanted to kind of make it look cold. And I just started airbrushing over the black with the pale blue. And again, back and forth with the transparent black, dull it down, bring it back, dull it down, bring it back, until I got what my eye wanted to see. Now for the lettering itself, I took out some dark red and I airbrushed all the letters. And this is when I got out my Badger Chrome, which is a very great detail airbrush. And I just came in and started hitting all the letters with the red, as you can see. Then I came in with some white and just kind of mist it a little bit on certain areas to give it that snowy cold that you see in here. Now for this yellowish look that you see on the top here, what I basically did with that is I brought out some yellow real lightly and kind of just airbrushed it all in this section here, real lightly. And then I brought it down with the transparent black. And for his eyes and like the face features that you see, I just came in with some transparent black and just again with my chrome, just kind of lightly hit it. And that gives you the depth that you see here. And that's really all I did with the base. I've seen it done many ways. This is what I thought, this is what my eye seen, and this is what I ended up doing. Now for his coat. Over the black, I brought out my dark red, and I just started airbrushing over the whole jacket. You know, some areas a little bit heavier near the folds. You know, you just come in a little bit heavier with the airbrush. Use my transparent black for the folds to give it some depth. And also a complete kind of misting of the transparent black over his coat, just to give it a reddish look, but kind of worn. You know, like it's kind of dirty. After all, he was tracking his family. He went senile. He was having a really bad day. So I tried to recreate that in the jacket. And really that's all I did with his coat. And again, it's a process. You go back and forth, bring it down with the transparent black, hit your highlights with your red, hit the folds maybe in some areas a little bit heavier with the transparent black, and you'll get that effect. The shirt, oh my gosh, boom. Mark has a lot of detail that's sculpted in there. I looked at several stills from the film on Google. Gotta love Google. And I also looked at Mark Van Tine's beautiful paint-up of this kit. And I wanted to try to recreate what I've seen what Mark did and what I've seen the shirt that Jack actually wore. And that's where the fun began. You just follow the lines that he has in there. Be patient, go slow, and it works out. I came in like on some of the white areas and that I kind of outlined the white with red is what I seen in some of the stills on the from the film. And it's just basically take out your finest hand brush you have. Maybe thin it, paint down a little bit with some water, I like to use a lot of the Badger Freak Flex paint, which gives you a nice adherence to the base, and also it runs pretty smooth. So basically I just took my brush and just started painting these in, doing the lines real slow, putting those big magnifying glasses on, and taking breaks. And if you mess up, you just take a little bit of Q-tip on a little bit of water, wipe it off, you're good to go. So basically that's what I did with that. Mark does have the detail that's sculpted in there. You just have to have the patience to make it work. There's many ways you could have just went simple with it and just did some simple lines, and it would have still looked good, because this is a beautiful piece. So that's what I did with this shirt. The axe, pretty straightforward. Just use some Tine brown over the black on the axe handle. Shot some silver through the airbrush for the axe tip, if you will. And again, toned it back down with the transparent black so it doesn't look too stark and it looks too dirty. A little bit of airbrushing of some red on there because Jack had a problem. He liked to use his axe, so I wanted to show like there was a little bit of collateral damage. Now for his face and hands, I wanted to go with a more dirtier look, not a straight up flesh like my face or regular Caucasian flesh. So again, in my earlier videos I've covered it. I'll briefly say it here. Reaper Master Series makes a great suntan flesh set. 3 colors: suntan flesh, suntan highlight, and suntan shadow. So basically that was back and forth using those colors on his head. And I just would always come back in with like a, believe it or not, transparent black, and I would come along and cover his hairline so you get that separation. The beard, I basically used some brown, airbrush that in along his face line, and use some trans black to kind of dirty it up like a shadow, because he had like a stubble in the movie, so I wanted to recreate that. And again, Mark has that stubble sculpted in his face. Amazing. So it's going back and forth under his eyes here for that distressed look. I used transparent Mars red, and I just brought up my chrome and I just hit that in real light. You want to be careful with those transparents. When you're getting too close, they'll splatter. So the trick is, obviously, you want to get back a little bit and just kind of lightly spray it. Build it up. It's a process. Take your time. And then I always like to come in with my brown pastels. And what I like to do with them is I take the pastel and some brown and I kind of move it around his whole face and kind of brush it off, blow it off. And it just gives it a different look. Like a dirty look, but yet the finish you see here. And you just come in and you work that around. Some pastels on his lips, some black pastels above his eyes to give it that sunken in look. And it's basically just working back and forth. I'll kind of spin it here a little bit. There'll be some photos at the beginning, and I'll show you some more detail of it. His teeth, use Rotted Tooth Tan from the Badger Freak Flex line. And just did some, washing in there with some transparent raw umber to kind of dirty them up. And a little bit of a hint of a lighter tan, just to kind of brush it up. I wasn't going for a human kind of look. I was just going from a freaked out look. That's why I chose the color of his teeth that way. Now for his eyes, just simply, you get in there on these scales, you just got to use your finest brush, take your time, get your base color of black, make your pupil in, and then put your color, whatever color you choose, put it in. On this one here, this was a little bit bigger. I'm trying to remember what I did. A lot of time I used a toothpick technique, dipping the tip of it in black paint, pop it in the center of the eye. It's a perfect circle every time. I might have used my finest brush and just kind of put it in, and then you move it around a little bit, you get your circle. The beauty of these are too, you can come in with a fine brush with some black pastel. You can soften up the eye and the iris and give it a little more perfectness, if you will. And that's what I did with him. Now for his hair, basically just took some dark brown out of the Delta Cream coat and just, again, dry brush away. And that's how I got the brown look of his hair. Then, of course, if you get too crazy, just take that transparent black, airbrush it, tone it down, back and forth, and then you get that. His hands was the same treatment as his face, identically done. For his fingertips, I wanted to give him a little bit of a fingertip look, but a little bit dirtier. So I just kind of played around. I actually used I think it was called AC Flesh from Delta Cream Coat. Just took a little bit and dry brushed it on the tips of his fingers. And then from there, you just use some washes and dirty them up and, get it toned down a little bit so it doesn't look like you dry brushed it and you see brush strokes. And then I came back in with the flesh, the highlight suntan flesh, hit all the tops of the fingers, forehead, raised areas of the hands and head, just to give it that different look of the highlight areas of his head. You're out there, you're watching this, every painter has their tricks and ways that they do that. That is just the way I did mine. And that is all there is to Jack from The Shining. I'll be highlighting over the next few videos more of Gillman Productions kits from the Stephen King line of kits that they have. I have several. Yeah, I'm a fan. I'm a fan of Stephen King, and I'm a fan of Gillman Productions. And I just look forward to showing you these beautiful kits. And I look forward to them guys doing more of these. I had heard rumors of possibly a werewolf from one of my favorite Stephen King films, Silver Bullet. I am stoked if Mark does this one. I will be first in line, ready to go, and putting that all over social media because I'm a fan. So, I will be putting some contact info for Paul and Mark at the end of this video. Their Facebook page, different ways that you may be able to get a hold of them. Hit them up. Great guys, beautiful castings, been in the business for a while. A pleasure to talk to both of them. When I see them at Wonderfest, it's like meeting family that I haven't seen in a year. And I just look forward to collaborating with them on an upcoming release from Shadow Creations. And I just want you to see these beautiful kits and get them in your collection. Surround your room with Gillman Production busts. Easy to put out, doesn't take up a lot of room, and as you can see, just a beautiful piece. So I thank you again for stopping in today to Talking Models with Troy Nayert. I hope that you subscribe to this channel, share this channel, get the word out about this channel. We talk about models, we talk about kits that I've done, how I've painted them, and just maybe you'll see kits on this channel you've never seen before. How cool is that? So I hope you all have a great day. Thanks again for stopping in, and God bless.